What up? This is KMT the Ra, and let me introduce you to the newest YouTube channel that I've created. This one is KMT Productions. So this video is actually going to consist of a lot of the things. This is basically going to be centered around a lot of the things that I wish I knew when I was younger. You know what I mean? I want to go ahead and focus primarily on, young black boys and young black men. Because I know that information like this doesn't really get passed around in our community too much. So I want to go ahead and, be a bearer of information for things I wish I would have known, such as, finances, credit, real estate, building, passive income, things like that. I'm also going to have some, some fitness stuff on here. And then also I'm going to be having, music production stuff on here, music videos. I want to do some skits and things like that. So this is going to be basically like an all-encompassing channel for all the stuff that I'm not doing on my other previous YouTube channel, which is kind of like primarily centered on gaming and stuff like that. So this one is going to be like, more things that I feel like can add value to people's lives. Like I said, I do want to focus primarily on, young black boys and young black men. However, this information is pretty much free to anybody because I'm pretty sure that anybody who doesn't know this stuff can get some value from it. So let's go ahead and get started with credit. So let's go ahead and start from the top. What is credit? So credit is basically the ability to borrow money or access goods or services with the understanding that you're going to be able to pay it later. So you have like lenders, merchants, service providers, also known as creditors. They grant credit based on the confidence that you can be trusted to pay back money that you borrow, along with any finance charges that may apply. So to the extent that creditors consider you worthy of their trust, they basically say that you're credit worthy or you're basically said to have good credit. So this is pretty much how credit works. So we have to take a brief history lesson. So in centuries past, creditors might have granted you credit worthiness based on your reputation alone. Obviously, that's a method that's kind of like subject to a lot of corruption and manipulation and bias. So these days, creditors prefer a more objective approach. So in the US, typically, they look at your credit history, so it's a record of your borrowing and repaying of funds as a first step to determine whether or not to issue you credit. So your credit history is pretty much summarized in files known as credit reports. I'm pretty sure people may have heard of this. So this is compiled by 3 independent credit bureaus. At least the main top 3 are Experian, TransUnion, and Equifax. So banks, credit unions, credit card issuers, and other creditors voluntarily report your borrowing and repayment information to these credit bureaus. Let's go over the type of information that they actually report. So this can be like the number of credit card accounts that you have, with their borrowing limits and their current outstanding balances, like if you owe them or not. The amounts on loans that you have that you've taken out, whether that be for like a car or something like that, or even like at a check cashing place, and to see how much of that you paid back. Whether or not you have monthly payments on certain accounts that you've been paying back on time, and then more severe financial setbacks such as like mortgage foreclosures, car repossessions, and bankruptcies. To help narrow down the lending decisions, creditors often use like a 3-digit number known as your credit score or FICO score as the first step in deciding on whether or not to issue you credit. So your score, your credit score pretty much shows the information on your credit reports as something that's easy to interpret, and does so in a way that kind of minimizes the possibility of bias. So there's like sophisticated systems known as credit scoring models that calculate your credit score. And by performing complex statistical analysis on the contents of your credit file, these different models, such as the FICO score and the Vantage score, they calculate their scores a little differently, but they all assign higher scores to individuals whose credit makes them statistically more creditworthy than others with lower scores. So here's a few factors that actually create your credit score ratio, and it's kind of broken down like this. So out of the 100% that actually makes up your credit, your payment history makes up 35%, right? So this is going to see if like, so that's basically like if you've been on time with any loans or anything like that you paid out. So let's say you have like a relatively good credit score, let's say 700, and you've been paying on time, you know what I mean, for like the last 3 years on all of your stuff. Everything's been up to date. Let's say you get into some financial trouble, and all of a sudden you're late on a credit card payment, or you're late on a mortgage payment, or you're late on a car payment to the point of where they actually like you're outside the grace period for each one of those things. That'll take a hit to your credit, and it's going to be a big hit too, because 35% of your total credit score is based off of specifically the fact that you can pay your bills on time. So you might drop from a 700 down to like a 630 with one late payment. So yeah, this is probably like, it's probably the most important one out of all of them, because it is the biggest chunk. The next one would be the amount that you owe. So let's say this can actually work a couple different ways, which we'll probably go more into detail on how this can actually kind of work in your favor if you kind of game the system a little bit. But the amount that you owe makes up 30%. So if you're paying all those things on time, then that 30% is working in your favor, you know, to keep it short. But, you know, if you have a bunch of different things, like a bunch of different credit cards, and like let's say you're late on 4 different credit cards, or you're late on your mortgage payment and a car payment or something like that, the amount that you owe, like the amount that you owe actually will like get spread out over your current credit availability. So let's say with all of your credit cards together, let's just ignore the house and the car. With all of your credit cards together, let's say that you have a total credit amount of like $50,000 between all of your credit cards. So $10,000 each card, right? Now, if you are using your credit card, it's called credit card utilization. If you're using, you know, 40,000 is like owed out of 50,000 on your credit cards, then that 30% is going to take a huge chunk out. You actually want to keep your credit card utilization low, which is why some people actually advocate not to use credit cards. I'm not one of those people. You basically just need to be responsible, make sure you pay down your cards as much as possible, all the way down every single month. If you're not able to do that, then at least stay up on your monthly payments. However, if you wait too long, that could accrue interest, and then that could start to put you into debt, because, you know, credit cards can have interest rates as high as 25%, which is insane. So we'll go ahead and move on to the next one, which is the length of your credit history. So this is also a topic for another video that I'll go into detail in, which is if you don't have credit history, you basically were told, like I was when I was younger, stay away from credit cards. You know what I mean? The problem with that is that sure, you won't have to worry about your credit card debt, but if you don't have credit cards in your history, chances are you won't have a credit history when you go to apply for a loan for a car or to finance a car. Like, I mean, if you pay everything in cash, cool. It doesn't really matter that much. But the majority of people aren't rolling up to the lot with, you know, $20,000, $30,000 in hand saying, I want to buy that car outright. Most people are going to have to finance, in which case they will look at your credit history. And if you have none, then you get a super high interest rate on that car, making your monthly payment on that car super high. So yeah, the length of your credit history matters. Like, you need at least, I think once it starts to get out of the red, I think it's like around 2 to 3 years worth of paying back bills that are based off of credit. You know what I'm saying? So the next one, so just to wrap that one up, length of credit history makes up 15% of the total. So we have payment history, 35, we have the amounts owed is 30, and then length of credit history is 15%. The next 10% is new credit. So this is when you basically add a new credit line onto your already existing pool of credit resources. So that's like getting a new credit card. So here's the thing about that. Like, so just to keep this one short, an example would be you have 4 credit cards and you have like a total of $30,000 of available credit, right? You add a new credit card because you're actually able to, your credit score is good enough to add another credit line, which then adds like another $10,000. So now you have $40,000. Now, if you're still using the same utilization that you were at 30,000 and then add another 10,000 to your potential pool and then just don't touch it, that will increase your credit score, but not by a whole lot because this only accounts for 10%. The next one is the types of credit. So there's a huge difference between like credit cards on your credit report versus like a student loan. So student loan payments are like really weird because like one, they don't go anywhere. Two, they're probably huge because if you live in America, our student loan debt is insane collectively as a country because school is just expensive. You know what I mean? But you paying on your student loan doesn't even really positively affect your credit. You know what I mean? What it can do though is that if you're not paying your student loan on time, it can negatively affect your credit, but it can't positively affect it. But if you add something like a mortgage and you're paying that mortgage on time, that's considered a different type of credit that actually positively affects your score, even though it creates a higher amount of debt when you look at the entire picture. So like it's a little weird, but there are ways around it. And like I said, there's going to be more videos going more into depth on credit specifically, because like there's a lot of like ins and outs and like little tricks and stuff like that I learned that I want to bring out to you guys as well. So there are 4 types of credit. There's revolving credit. With revolving credit, you're basically given a maximum borrowing limit, and you can make charges up to that limit. But you have to make minimum payments on the credit that you owe each month. And so, but other than the minimum limit, you can actually pay any amount that's over that minimum limit a month, which is better because if you pay off the debt sooner, then you don't have to worry about the interest rates that'll start to stack on money onto what you owe. If you make a partial payment, you can carry forward extra money towards the principal, the balance that you owe, which is preferable. That's why they say pay off your credit cards in full every month, and you shouldn't be using a credit card unless you basically use a credit card not as an extra spending tool, but basically like you just use it as you normally would like your debit card, and then you just make sure to pay off your credit card at the end of the month or even before the end of the month every time. So like it's not for extra money, it's basically as a substitute for the money you already have, and then that builds your credit score, right? Then we have stuff like charge cards. So like this is like you don't see too many of these anymore, but they're kind of like, it's like department store cards where the money that they like is basically like they say you have up to a $500 limit to buy whatever you want in the store with this card. This card can only be used in this store, and you have to pay the amount in full that you charge onto that card at the end of the month, no questions asked. Like you can't carry over any debt from month to month. Otherwise, I think they'll just sue you. But like I said, you don't see a lot of these anymore. I think a lot of people just go with, kind of like the gift cards and stuff like that, like Visa gift cards and stuff like that. But I think there's still some of those floating around. We also have one called service credit. So your contracts with service providers such as like gas, electric utilities, cable internet providers, cell phone companies, gyms, they're all credit agreements. You know what I mean? So these companies provide their services to you each month with the understanding that you're going to pay their monthly fee and things like that. So with modern credit scoring systems, including most recent versions of like FICO and Vantage Score, they can factor in service payments. So like you can even you can put in, like I said, like cell phone payments, utility payments, things like that on your credit score, but you just have to apply for it. Like, so there's one specifically called Experian Boost where you can actually put those things into Experian Boost, and then paying each one of those like monthly bills that you normally have will then contribute to your overall credit score. And then lastly, we have the installment credit. So installment credit, it's pretty much a loan for a specific amount that you agree to repay. So plus interest and fees in a series of monthly installments or payments over a set period of time. So this is like student loans, car loans, and mortgages. Those are all examples of installment credit. like, here's a perfect example. You have a loan for, let's say, like, you have you want to get a condo or something like that for $250,000, right? You have a 30-year fixed mortgage, and at a rate of 4% interest. So that sounds like, okay, well, I pretty much need the 250,000. That would be the case if you paid it all up front. But if you pay the monthly payments over 30 years, you wind up actually paying like an extra $150,000 to $190,000, because that interest rate of 4% actually accrues over time. Like, so when you split it up, you're actually paying way more on interest at the beginning than you would be after like the 7 to 10 year mark in your payment process. Like, that's when you start to pay some more on principal. At first, your principal amount is, which is the amount that goes to the actual payment of the condo. That amount is like really small. It's something like, like 5% of the total that you're paying per month. Why do you need credit? Well, I mean, there's a lot of good reasons, but to keep it in a summary form, good credit's necessary if you want to make major purchases, such as a car or a home. Maybe you want to take advantage of the convenience of purchase protection that credit cards can provide. A higher credit score can mean that your interest rates and loan terms are actually better, because many card issuers also reserve their most enticing rewards for people who have good credit. Lenders aren't the only ones who concern themselves with credit reports and credit scores. Landlords may check your credit when they're deciding on if they're going to rent out an apartment or something like that to you. You may have to have a certain credit score just to be able to qualify for that place. Insurance companies, they use your credit score to factor in your determining rates. Utility companies may check your credit, deciding to decide if they want to let you open up a major account with them. Prospective employees may use the credit information to make a hiring decision. Your credit report can even be used to verify your identity, and for other purposes defined by federal law, because it is tied to your social security number. But credit is a tool that can help you buy things that you need now, and then just need time to pay them off later. And building up good credit, it's a super important element to sound financial health. Now, I've heard the argument that cash is king, which it certainly is, but like I said earlier in the video, not everybody's gonna roll up with a $50 band to the car lot when they need a car. You know what I mean? And if you're not making a whole lot at your job currently, then you may need to finance a vehicle because you need a way to get to and from work. So having a better credit score will give you a lower interest rate. It'll give you a lower monthly payment, and it will actually qualify you to get the vehicle that you may want, or the home that you may want, things like that. So I think that's going to pretty much do it for today's video. Thanks everybody for watching. Like I said, there's going to be more of these coming. I have a whole bunch of different topics and things like that we're going to be going over as this channel starts to grow and progress. I really hope that you guys got some value out of this, but stay tuned for more videos. I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.